Some projects seem too good to be true. So what about this one? Have you ever thought about who might live in a sponge city? Not SpongeBob or Nemo, but you. The impacts of climate change are expected to further destabilize an already fragile environment, and with urban expansion covering natural landscapes with concrete, water has nowhere to go. But what if our cities could absorb and manage rainwater naturally? You see, the Netherlands is definitely not alone to have passed its history by getting along with water. As climate change reshapes our environment, these conventional approaches are proving inadequate, lacking this flexibility and resilience needed for the future. Enter the architect making friends with flooding. Meet Conjun Yu, Chinese landscape architect who pioneered the idea of sponge cities in the 90s and early 2000s. According to him, the answer for the future's challenges actually lies in the past. Born in the 60s in rural southern China, suffering monsoon floods every year, he admits that water was quite friendly even during the monsoon season because there were no chemicals or much concrete to make enemies with. Over the time, rivers have become channelized, controlled with concrete and walls, and floods are wanted to be flushed away overnight. As much as 60% of cities of China suffers floods annually, Kunjun found that nature-based solutions could be the answer to mitigating these problems of today and tomorrow. He came up with a concept that builds on these ideas but integrates them into a more holistic, nature-based urban planning approach. Kunjun coined the term sponge city to retain water, slow its flow, be more adaptive, and recycle it during the dry season. Those living in the monsoon seasons have come to master the harmony between the human and the natural. Kunjun saw an enormous potential for reinventing the ancient Chinese techniques of terracing, diking, ponding lakes, and islanding the ground. Unfortunately, it seems as if this deep-rooted knowledge has been overshadowed by the norms of industrial civilization. Beginning in 2013, the concept was adopted by the Chinese Congress, and in 2016, 30 model Chinese cities were designated as experimental sponge cities. The implementation only took 1 year and was a great success as a demonstration to the sponge city concept. In one of the international projects, you managed to persuade the local government of Bangkok, and an urban tobacco industry brownfield was transformed into a central park that can handle about 1 million cubic meters of stormwater. In Nanchang, suffering floods every year, ash dumping ground was transformed into a floating forest, using pond, dike, and islanding techniques, inviting more birds and flourishing biodiversity. Sponge city-inspired solutions are to be found all around the world. In Peru, given the lack of methodologies, there are guides providing assistance for studies aiming to work with locally based solutions to be prepared against floods and landslides. In Australia, the water-sensitive urban design aspires to integrate urban water cycle into the city design through conserving and reusing water systems. Parque La Mexicana, right in Mexico City, exists as the city itself has been struggling with sinking due to excessive groundwater extraction. A major challenge is the high cost of redeveloping existing urban areas. Cities with dense populations and limited space will struggle to implement large-scale sponge city projects. Additionally, long-term commitment may be difficult for municipalities with limited resources. In regions with extreme weather patterns, sponge city techniques may not be sufficient to handle severe flooding events, still needing the traditional grey infrastructure. Plus, the output is highly context-dependent, as soil types, urban layouts, and water table levels vary. As climate change amplifies extreme weather events, it is high time cities embraced adaptable and context-specific solutions, combining sponge city principles with conventional flood protection strategies. Ultimately, the success of sponge cities depends not on design, but on political will, investment, and community engagement in rethinking how we coexist with water. We should therefore think like a sponge and keep soaking up solutions.